Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Welcome back to the Big 12 Insiders. Today, we got our man, Chris Cartman, who covers the Arizona State SunDevils for us and for 24/7, I should say. So we're going to talk to him about a little SunDevil football, just kind of get the ins and outs as the summer is rolling around, what's going on with the program, just kind of a check-in, up-to-date type of thing. So appreciate everybody being here. Before we get started, remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in the comments, and hit the notification bell so you know when Big 12 Insiders content comes out. Before we even do that, Chris, been a minute. How are you doing, my man?
Doing great. You know that spring is a lot busier than it used to be with the transfer portal and the spring official visits, and just was at camp with ASU 7-on-7 and their elite camp over the last couple weeks. So there's been a lot happening for it being June.
Yes, that is what's totally different from what it used to be. It used to be kind of a slower time period, but it isn't anymore. So transfer portal, recruiting, all that kind of stuff picks up. And then now, I guess, going into the off season, it's just not as much of an off season as what it used to be. Just not as much. So talking about that, as far as Arizona State, man, they came out of nowhere last year, except for you. Every time we talk football, Chris, I'm going to always give you the credit because you are the one person that said, hey, there is something different about this team. You didn't say it mid-season. You didn't say it 3/4 of the way through. You said it in the summer when I talked to you before the season started. You were talking about this football team. So every time we talk about last year, I'm going to give you credit for that because you did. But what's the overall feeling of the program after such a successful season last year? What's the overall feeling of just everybody involved now?
Well, it's surprising probably to outside people, just given what ASU accomplished last season. But the players and coaches are kind of frustrated with the way that it ended. The double overtime loss to Texas, having an opportunity to win the Peach Bowl. They have their top leaders are back. Xavier Alford, a safety who was involved in that last play, the 4th down and long that they gave up that ended the game, or contributed to the end of the game. And Sam Leavitt, ASU's quarterback, is back. Jordan Tyson is back. And these guys have actually a bad taste in their mouth because they felt like they could have even done more. And the SunDevils are very process-oriented rather than being results-driven. So when you talk to the players, as I talked to Alford just like the last week or so, he was like, man, I want to do more. I want to be better. These guys are trying to get drafted really high. And to accomplish that, you got to put out really great film and be part of a great team. Those things help. They feel like there's a lot of money out there for them to go be made this season. And they have 2/3 of their starters back and all their staff is back. And they've added some really important pieces in the transfer portal to help them offset what the losses that they do have. And so the optimism is very high, but also the understanding that they're going to have to work just as hard as they did last season to be able to repeat as Big 12 champions.
Gotcha. That's a key point is having a bad taste in their mouth. I think that's the avenue and the route to go because, we see it so many times, Chris, that a team, they kind of surprise. And then the next year they kind of, we were good last year. We'll just be good again this year. And then it doesn't work out. So it's good to see and good to hear that they're like, no, last year wasn't enough. We should have won. We could have done more. I think it's the should have done more is what I like to hear is that we should have won. We should have gone further. That's got to be a welcome thing for Arizona State fans. But let's get to the elephant in the room. Who replaces Cam Skaateboo? He did so much for that team last year. As far as leadership, production on the field, is it going to be by committee? Is there somebody there, or is it just kind of a wait and see what happens?
Brien, you're not going to replace Cam Skaateboo with one player. He had the best season in the history of ASU football at running back, the first 2,000-yard scrimmage guy. Maybe only one or two players were comparable nationally at the position. And so, yeah, they're going to have to replace him in the aggregate, and that's going to be with multiple running backs. You're going to see Tyson Brown, who was Skaateboo's backup last year, play a lot. Rayleigh Brown had a hamstring injury that cost him all last season, pretty much a grade 3 tear. He came in from USC in the transfer portal as somebody who had a lot of dynamic athleticism and the ability to make plays in space. So he's very complimentary. Tyson Brown's a fast guy, a 10-6 100-meter track guy. He'll get on you in the open field and take some balls to the house. He also catches the ball out of the backfield. And then the thumper that they have is somebody they added via the transfer portal, Army running back Kanye Udo. He had 1,200 or something rushing yards last season. He's a big physical guy, runs behind his pads, 215, 220 pounds. So he is a contrasting style. I think this is the first year that you'll see in the last 5 or 6 that ASU has several running backs who get a lot of the carries. And that's different because Sean Aguano, ASU's running backs coach, going all the way back to 2018 or 19, he's had a 1,000-yard rusher pretty much every full season. From Eno Benjamin, Texas guy who was a phenomenal player, Rashad White now in the NFL, Xavier Valladay coming in from Wyoming. He was a big factor. And then last year, what they got with Cam Skaateboo, with the last 2 years with Skaateboo. So bottom line is they're going to have to do it a different way this season, but they have confidence in their ability to do that.
Gotcha. You know, and I know we had talked about this, and I had mentioned it last season, that Sam Leavitt, one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the country last year. That's not going to be the case this year, Chris. He's not going to be an underrated guy. Now, I don't know that he necessarily gets all the pub, maybe nationally, but I can tell you in Big 12 country, everybody is going to know exactly who this guy is. How good is Sam Leavitt?
He's got potential to be a first-round NFL draft pick, a starting NFL quarterback. So that tells you he's pretty good.
Yeah.
He is a fearless competitor. He cracked a rib last season. He missed one game. Okay. The guy will scramble for the marker. He is very elusive. He extends plays. He is accurate with a good arm down the field. And the newcomers said they were surprised by his leadership DNA because he's out there trying to win conditioning races in the heat. And everybody's like, wait a second, this guy's a starting quarterback. He's already got it locked up. Why is he doing that? And it's because he understands that he is the tone setter.
Right.
No Skaateboo. And Sam Leavitt wants to be a first rounder, wants to win a Heisman Trophy, wants to be back-to-back Big 12 champions. His aspirations are sky high. He feels like he was overlooked, underrated, not appreciated coming out of high school. That's why he transferred from Michigan State, because the coaching staff there, when they was at Oregon State, didn't recruit him, didn't offer him a scholarship. And now he's trying to show everybody, hey, what I did last season is not a fluke. I am the real deal, and you're going to recognize.
Gotcha. I mean, like I said, that type of approach, it doesn't get a whole lot better than that, Chris. I love that kind of attitude out of somebody, especially even with the success that he had. It's like I mentioned, he was still underrated. It's like, hold on a second, this guy's pretty damn good. So I like that attitude. Speaking of pretty damn good, Jordan Tyson, pretty good. You know, I mean, I watched the playoff game, actually the couple games that he wasn't in at the end of the year. I don't know. I look, it's not that Arizona State, I should say they missed him because he wasn't out there, but they still were pretty formidable. But this guy is incredible, Chris. That's the thing. So I don't want to take away from either side of this by saying, well, they didn't really miss him because they moved the ball. But on second thought, how much more could they have done if he would have been out there? I think that maybe is the route to go, because I believe this guy is one of the best, if not the best receiver in the country.
He's definitely in that conversation. Yeah, you're right. Melquan Stovall and other guys, Malik McLean, those guys rose to the equation. Xavier Guillory, they stepped up when they were needed, but there's no substitute for Jordan Tyson. That guy is an ultra dynamic 3-level player. He beats you up at the top. He's a contested catch guy. He's a ball in hand player. Remember, this guy tore his ACL. He had a 3 ligament injury at Colorado in November of his freshman year after he was the leading receiver in yards as a true freshman at Colorado a few years ago. It took all of 2023 for him to basically get back his athleticism. And then in 2024, that was his first year really showing that he was back. So this guy still has more that he has not squeezed out of his potential and his athleticism. His first year really playing in the offense, first year with Sam Leavitt, and now it's like, okay, what can this guy really do when he's operating at peak capacity? That's kind of what the conversation is right now. And I think we're setting up for one of the best years that a receiver's had in the Big 12 in a long time, because Marcus Arroyo, the offensive coordinator, was the Broyles Award Offensive Coach of the Year last year. He understands how to scheme to get Jordan Tyson into advantageous situations, and Leavitt knows the chemistry is really special there. So I think you're going to see him have a remarkable year, maybe something that is that puts him in the conversation for the Biletnikoff Award and other of these very prestigious honors.
Gotcha. Yeah, he's just really, really dynamic. Like I said, one of the best wide receivers in the country. I think he's going to show that this season. I agree with you there. Flipping to the other side of the ball real quick, defense was pretty good last year for Arizona State. It was pretty good. And again, it's an area where I think a lot of people thought they were going to struggle. Brought in a lot of different transfers and played good football. What does the defense look like this year for Arizona State, and can it get better?
It will be better. I'm highly confident. And Brien, this was the #1 run defense in the Big 12 last year in yards allowed. And there were only 3 players from the defense in the top 15 or so players that have departed. So think about that, right? Shamari Simmons, their nickel was as good as anybody probably on their defense. He's gone. That's their replacement. They brought in Kendrick Breedlove, who was a starting nickel at Purdue. So he looked good in the spring, physical, tough, smart football player. He's a senior, played a lot of football, right? The other 2 guys that departed were basically their #3 or #4 defensive players at their relative positions. Caleb McCullough, linebacker, probably their number 3 or 4 linebacker. And then they lost one of their D tackles. But their D tackles look really great. Their D ends probably are better than they were a year ago, taking a step forward. I think you're going to see more sacks, more quarterback pressures, more disruption in the backfield. Prince Dorba, Clayton Smith, Justin Watley, Elijah O'Neal. These guys are going to get after the quarterback. And then on the back end, I really feel like ASU is going to have one of the top secondaries in the conference, because Xavier Alford's a first-teamer at free safety. Miles Rouser was the team leading tackler at strong safety. Their 2 corners, Javen Robinson and Keith Abney, are back. Abney looked like 10 pounds heavier, bigger, stronger, more physical player at corner. Their linebackers are top 3 linebackers back. Keyshawn Elliott's an all-conference player. Jordan Crook could be an NFL draft pick. Cyrus Fiaseu would be starting on most teams. He's a backup for ASU. They generate a lot of takeaways. They're disruptive. They do not give up big plays. There is no reason to expect that this won't be one of the best defenses, not only in the Big 12, but even in the country.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that they were so good last year against the run. And I know a lot of people talk about the Big 12 necessarily being a passing lead, but you take a look at the running backs that the Big 12 had last year. I mean, it was tremendous. And for them to be the #1 rushing defense against the run, I mean, that says something.
Well, ASU played all the best running backs.
Yes.
It's not just that they had really good running backs. ASU played against Texas Tech, Kansas State, played against Harvey at UCF. They played the teams that had the best running backs. Like they played 5 NFL draft pick running backs, something like that. So to stop the run against that caliber of your schedule is really what I think says a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Kenny Dillingham, and ASU, they've seemed to just embrace the transfer portal. A lot of people, that they're, I shouldn't say stuck in their ways because, I mean, transfer portal is not that old. But to me, it's stuck in their ways because it's not going anywhere. It's here. And if you don't use it, then I feel like you're stuck in your ways. Arizona State has used it. They've used it to their benefit, and they understand what's going on. I mean, they're after this thing, and hey, this is where it is. This is how we can get better. Is that kind of the feeling of Coach Dillingham? Is like, look, this is a tool that we can use, that everybody can use, and if you're not going to use it, you're just costing yourself opportunities to get better football players.
Look, the way I would frame this is that they say desperation is the mother of invention or something like that, right? When Dillingham came into ASU, the roster was a disaster. You could not fix it via traditional high school and or junior college recruiting. They added 50 to 53 players in his first several months, okay? So they had 20-something guys that came in and were starters or their top backups via the portal. FCS All-Americans, Shamari Simmons and Cam Skaateboo, we already talked about them. Then they added a whole bunch of guys that were backups that weren't playing on your big-time sort of blue blood programs. Prince Dorbin and Clayton Smith, their starting ends, were at Oklahoma and Texas, respectively. So what Dillingham saw was there's a lot of people who are really talented, but they're not playing on some really good teams. And then there's a lot of star players that are at the G5 level, or maybe they're at playing in the Mountain West or somewhere. They're FCS players. We have to identify, find, and bring in, and then develop and deploy those players in order for us to have as quick of a turnaround as we would like to have. And that's what enabled, more than anything, their 2-year turnaround, which was the best in ASU football history in wins year over year, right? They were 3-9 team his first season. And so, yes, absolutely, they're going to continue to hammer the transfer portal. Now, it's a little bit tougher because guess what? The other schools, they're seeing, oh, look what ASU did in the transfer portal.
Right.
Who are they bringing in for some visits in the end of April or in May? Yeah, okay, we want to go get those guys also in the spring portal or in the winter portal. So they're now in a cat and mouse game. The good news for them is that they're also evaluating high school recruits at a high level. They're bringing those guys in. They're developing them. So what they've been able to do successfully in the transfer portal, it has also carried over to their more traditional recruiting and development. But they're still, like, if you look at it, Kanye Udo, one of the top running backs in the transfer portal. ASU got the Helton brothers from Iowa State, guys that are athletic and have a lot of upside. I mentioned Kendrick Breedlove, their nickel transfer, and they added Kamari Anderson, a tight end from Kentucky who looks very athletic. I think he was higher ranked than any of their high school tight ends that they've had in recent history. So you go really across the roster, and they're still adding and fine-tuning with what they're doing. Boogie Wilson was a starting safety at Washington State, probably won't even start for ASU, but he was recruited by Brien Ward and AJ Cooper when they were up there. Now they're at ASU, and now they're bringing in those types of guys. So the strategy is going to shift a little bit because now they're more settled, obviously,
Right.
and they can probably attract better younger talent. But there's no substitute for the transfer portal when you're really trying to get things rolling and reverse the trend line. And they did that as well as anybody. Colorado, probably the only other team that would be in the same category.
Correct. And as you mentioned at the beginning, both of those schools were out of necessity, because I know Colorado gets all the pub because it's Deion Sanders, but Arizona State, the exact same way, Chris. You could probably look at that roster, and and maybe you agree, maybe you don't, but I definitely know Colorado's, and I saw, Arizona State's too. More than half of those guys shouldn't have been at playing Power 5 football at the time. And I think that's what a lot of people, because they got mad, well, you're kicking these kids out. And I'm like, they shouldn't have been there to begin with. And that's the problem. And that wasn't Coach Dillingham. That wasn't his fault. I go, he got the job, and there's these guys that can't play at this level. You got to do something. You can't just say, okay, well, we're just going to deal with it and try to develop them and then continue down a path of winning 3 games and 4 games and back to 3. Doesn't work that way, and it doesn't have to work that way anymore. The rules have changed, so that's a good thing. And so my thing is, with the fan base, they've agreed with it. They've embraced it. I know I've talked to you about this before. It seems like Arizona State is just kind of a monster being ready to be unleashed. Is that what's going to happen this year, Chris? Because you know they got the alumni. I mean, they have 1 million alumni. It's a big university. The fan base was just waiting for something to be good to get behind, and they did that last year. Is it going to be even more crazy this year, Chris?
Well, look, they have sold more than 6,000 season tickets additional from last season. They sold out all their luxury seating. So it's already a difficult place to play, especially early in the season when you got 100-degree or more kickoffs at 7 p.m. and
Right.
Teams are having to come in against that. That's not what you really want to do. And this is going to be a veteran, sophisticated, hungry, dynamic type of a football team that is well coached with fans that are going to be more excited and amped than they have been in a very long time. And the expectations are sky high. You cannot look at this team after winning 11 games last season and with what they return and their schedule, which also sets up pretty favorably, and say anything less than 10 wins is going to be considered acceptable. That sounds crazy, but a 9-win season, that's not going to do anything. That's going to be like, okay, 9 wins, probably you guys underachieved a little bit. Unless there's injuries or some other thing that happens, the expectations are that ASU will be one of the best teams in the Big 12, compete to win the Big 12, have a chance to play in the CFP again, and that Dillingham will continue to be able to keep the thing rolling. And in the Big 12, when Texas and Oklahoma are not part of it, nobody should be out recruiting or out performing ASU, in my opinion. And I think that is what we're going to be seeing here over a 2-year period.
Yeah, you mentioned their schedule. First of all, talking about the expectations, I love that the expectations have changed that quick. And I know we talked about it. I just think it's great that a team 3-9 2 years ago, now all of a sudden you win 9 games. Not good enough. I love that fact because you don't have to be bad and you don't have to settle. And that's the thing that, I talk about that with different people. It's like, you don't have to settle. You can be good. You can get it turned around. I go, and it doesn't mean that your expectations are too high. It's just what the expectations are. And that's okay to have high expectations. When you talk about the schedule, you brought that up. Non-con, not a lot there. Mississippi State, I know you're going there, but Mississippi State's not going to be very good. Or at least on paper, they don't appear to be very good. But then you start off the year. The back end of the Big 12 schedule, manageable. And not that the front half isn't manageable, but it's the toughest part of the schedule. It's at Baylor, TCU, at Utah, and Texas Tech. All teams that are vying to, and should be at the top of the Big 12 this year. I guess the game at Baylor, we'll see early. And then at Utah, difficult. But, and I mean, don't get me wrong, all of them are going to be difficult. But if you get by that stretch, look, nothing's easy in the Big 12. I mean, it's just nothing is easy. But if you get by that stretch, Chris, I mean, it like you said, it opens up to be pretty favorable. I know you go to Iowa State later on. I mean, we'll see what their offense looks like after losing 2, high wide receiver draft picks. We'll see what all that looks like. But yeah, it's pretty favorable. They got a chance here, Chris.
Yeah. Those teams are that you mentioned, they're building. I think they're going to be maybe even better potentially than last year. Baylor, TCU, very talented. I think ASU, though, getting them early with how much that the Sun Devils have coming back is probably a good thing for them, rather than like allowing those teams to further gel throughout the course of a season. You have to win a lot of close games in the Big 12. You have to win turnover margin, and you have to win the close games. ASU was first, I believe, in turnover margin last year, and it won like 5 games that were 7-point, 8-point games or less, right? That if you look at it, and if we want to predict right now, Brien, okay, who are going to be the best teams at the end of this year in the Big 12? I'm telling you 3 things to look for: turnover margin, run defense, right? And then who is your quarterback that can get you the most important fourth quarter drives when you need to go down and score points? ASU checks those boxes better than anybody because we talked about it. They're the best run defense. They were first in turnover margin, and they have Sam Leavitt. And you put those things together, and you have what I think will be a media day prediction of ASU being the best team in the Big 12 this year, favored to repeat even despite the loss of Cam Skaateboo. But again, you're going to have to go out there and show that you're capable of doing it. If somehow they can get to 5-1 by that midpoint of the season that you're talking about there, look out, because the Sun Devils are going to probably be back in the CFP. 4-2, it gets dicey, and then you're going to need a bunch of things to go well for you on the back end.
Gotcha. Well, they definitely have the coach. They've got the players. They've got the support. Everything seems to be lining up. Now, you say that. I mean, I'm not saying that to be a jinx. Just speaking truths here. Sometimes when you're good, you're just good, Chris. You know what I mean? When you have it, you have it. And it seems that Arizona State is on the right track of having it this year. So I appreciate you, number one, giving us your time and coming on with us today. Tell everybody where they can find the stuff that you're doing right now, Chris.
SunDevilSource.com or ASU247.com. Instagram is ASU247.com. At Chris Cartman on X and other platforms. We're pretty much everywhere, like most everybody. So look forward to seeing ASU fans and Big 12 fans who want to just chop it up.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate you and appreciate everybody. Thanks for being here, everybody. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in that comment section. We appreciate you guys, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.